Welcome to All Over the Place, a rounded third production with your hosts, Eric Porvoznik, Jim Culver, Marty Zamora, and Kathy Rankin.
Hi there, this is Steve Hackett. You're on the All Over the Place podcast where the fun sanity never ends.
Hello and welcome back to All Over the Place. I'm your host, Eric Porvoznik. And before we bring in the team and our awesome guests, I wanted to once again thank everybody for liking, sharing, subscribing, commenting. We are building every week, and it's just thank you so much. It means a lot to me and the team, and just every week getting a little bit stronger because of you. Thank you so much. And let's keep it up. This year's just getting better every week. And that's because of Kathy Rankin. Hello, Kathy.
Hey, everybody.
And also thanks to Jim Culver. Hello, Jim. How you doing?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
Well, as already hinted at, doing fabulous. I mean, the shows we're getting every week, like I said, getting a little bit better and stronger. And I again want to thank our social media sponsors, and that would be Dan Zalesko and DZP Live, Vinyl Record Dude. Make sure you're checking them out when you're in Scottsdale or at vinylrecorddude.com. And also make sure you're heading over to check out Dan Schinder and his team over at drumtalktvbrilliance.com. Make sure you're subscribing there and getting all their extra awesome content. And speaking of awesome content, we have with us today an amazing guitarist, musician. He is currently touring with Vertical Horizon, but you've heard him in Porcupine Tree as well, among many others. And I want to welcome to the show the journeyman guitarist himself, John Wesley. Thanks for joining us here on All Over the Place.
Thank you guys for having me. Wonderful to be here. Yay.
So, and I mentioned, Porcupine Tree and Vertical Horizon, and I want to get into the specifics and just the differences in style with those two a little bit later. But right out of the gate, I mean, prog rock and prog leaning rock. I mean, we live in a world where, it's kind of jockeying between, a Tik-Tok, short attention span, auto-tune generation, and which another side of the coin, or the other side of the coin, a younger generation who is embracing the vinyl revival and are appreciating the album experience that prog leans towards. So talk to us about, being a guy with a prog background and what it's like for you in this environment that kind of jockeys both ways.
It's kind of interesting because it kind of goes back to my roots. When I was very young, one of the first bands I latched onto was Kiss, and Kiss was king of the 3.5 minute, rock anthem. Kiss Alive just was Kiss Alive 1 actually was my intro into that. And, and then there was AC/DC, and then probably around 9th grade, someone played me, what was the name of the first Rush album? I'm sorry, the first Rush live album. All the World's a Stage?
All the World's a Stage, yeah.
Yeah, All the World's a Stage. And that, I was like, what are these long, meandering, amazing pieces? And instantly my mind just kind of gravitated towards that. And so through, late junior high into high school, I just wanted to be a little Alex Lifeson. And so I kind of grew to that music. And next it was Yes and the Fragile and the Yes album and Going for the One and more Rush. And I didn't have a lot of money.
Little Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Exactly. And that was the next thing. We hired a bass player in my second band. And he was from up north, and he had these great prog records, and Genesis was one of them. And I'd never heard Hackett. I'd never heard any of that. And so they're just, and then of course, the big introduction to Dark Side of the Moon for me was when I was 16 years old. I was riding in the back of a 67 Camaro with an 8-track player, a super tuner. I think it was called what was it? Jensen Super Tuner or something like that. 8-track player, this amazing stereo, on the way to Fort Hesterly Armory to watch Dusty Rhodes wrestle.
Wow.
And the guy put on Dark Side of the Moon, and it just blew my mind. So that kind of music attracted me, like I said, in my teens. And when I got into my second band, we were all really into that. And so we started to try and create it. We weren't covering anything for the first couple of years of the band. We were just trying to write and write and write. And my audition to that band was Xanadu. And I knew how to play a good portion of Xanadu. And the drummer was a Neil Peart disciple. And his brother, the keyboard player, the three of us faked our way through Xanadu, and that was the formation of that band. So that's where it started. And then to take the ride, because at the same time I was really into singer-songwriters, Simon and Garfunkel. Lyrics were very important to me from a very young age. And that comes out of, I had an 8-track, again, with no label on it, and it turned out to be Simon and Garfunkel's greatest hits. And that spoke to me. And so going through that journey all through these years, I go back and forth in the different worlds. 1 minute I was a singer-songwriter on guitar. The next minute I was prog guitar player. So 40 something years later, I'm still in both worlds. Vertical Horizon, it isn't really a pop band, but it's a band that had hits, an alternative band. And yet, at the same time, in this same touring cycle, I'm going to go out with a band called Voyage 35, which is the original bass player for Porcupine Tree and myself playing 12-minute epics. So it's like, it is like, just before this, I was rehearsing that band, in my on my computer. And, after just rehearsing the set for Vertical Horizon, I'm flying to the Philippines on Friday for that band. So it's a real dichotomy now.
Do you find it easy to transition between progressive rock and alternative, or is it, a little bit, does it take a little bit of work to kind of jump back and forth between those two styles?
I'm lucky enough to have been doing it so long that it's really easy musically. The memory factors, I have to work a lot harder at memorizing long arrangements. The vertical songs are shorter, always under 5 minutes. 5 minutes in the Voyage 35 world that's a single. That's a 7 minutes is a single, So there's a lot of changes that way. But as far as the playing style, not at all. I really go back and forth.
Very cool.
I'm glad you brought up 8-track, but I'm still with my memories of riding around in my uncle's 79 Trans Am, and I'm just imagining, is anybody in there? Ka-chunk,
Oh, yeah.
ka-chunk,
Oh yeah.
ka-chunk, ka-chunk. Just nod if you can hear me. Always the interruption with the 8-track.
Always, yeah. And it started over. Looping. Just God.
Yeah. John, so you mentioned it sounds like you started writing at a very young age.
Yes.
Where did that come from? Was there somebody in your family where did you get that to be singing and songwriting and playing at such a young age?
Yeah. My mom played piano, but she didn't write. She just played piano, and she was a good singer. And we didn't have a great stereo. We didn't have a lot of money, so we had one of those big console things, and they had a bunch of like Andy Williams, who were the crooners. She loved the crooners, so we had a bunch of the crooners. And if you ever listen to the lyrics of the crooners, they're very, very heartfelt, most of them, and very well executed. And so, very young, I had a crush on a girl and wrote a poem. And then, I was playing a little guitar, and the poem found its way into the guitar, and it was terrible. But, I started writing, and even in my first bands, even though I wasn't a singer, I didn't start singing until I was almost 30. I was writing the lyrics and the melodies for the songs.
Wow. Did you consider yourself a guitarist first?
Always.
You did?
Even to this day, like when Colin mentioned he wanted to do the Voyage 35 thing, I was like, well, who's singing? And he was like, well, you're going to sing some, dummy. And I was like, oh yeah, I do that. I just want to play guitar. Oh, and he's like, you can't. Oh, damn it.
But you're so good at it.
But I never, you know what I mean? It's like, I'm a guitar player that has to sing to stay alive, you know?
Yeah, I've heard that from several artists. So tell us about the Voyage 35 thing, because you sent me the first song you wanted me to listen to, and I loved it. This is so up my alley.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, but I love this kind of stuff. You just can get lost in a different world.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't know if the other two guys have heard it, but it's pretty crazy. So the early days of Porcupine Tree, 90, I think it started in 1990, 91, was just Steve Wilson in his bedroom. And he very early on, he had been making music on little 4-tracks. I think a little 4-track his father had built him in the 80s. And so by the time by the time 1990 came around, he's really good at it. And he knew how to program drum machines, and he could play a little bass. And so, you know, he was putting out little records, kind of psychedelic stuff, and he couldn't write lyrics yet. So he had met a guy that was forming a little record company that introduced him to a poet. Oh my God, I can't remember the guy's name. And Stephen would take his lyrics and put them on his prog epics. And this guy was very psychedelic. And Stephen didn't do any drugs, but loved psychedelic music. Stephen is a superior musicologist, and he would go down the rabbit hole. And so the first Porcupine Tree stuff was very psychedelic. And then when he linked in with Chris Maitland on drums, Colin Edwin on bass, and Richard Barbieri on keyboards, they all immediately clicked into this 90s kind of psychedelic thing that no one else was doing. And so the first era of Porcupine Tree, before they got signed to Atlantic, from, I want to say they all got together in 91, 92, all the way up into 2001, was an incredibly psychedelic, trippy era. And so Voyage 35, Colin and I weren't part of the 2022 reunion of the band, because the band really kind of ended in 2010, although nobody really told us that. Every year we thought we were going out, we're going out. And it would be like, well, we didn't go out this year. Steven put out another solo record. And then the other two guys got together with Steven and decided they wanted to make it Porcupine 3. And Colin and I were kind of, they wanted to come out with a new, some sort of new image. I don't know. And so Colin and I were kind of left out of that. And so recently we reconnected. I played a solo on one of, he has a band called ORK, which is fabulous. And they asked me to play a guitar solo, and I did. And then he came to me and goes, hey, you know, could we go back and do the old stuff? And so we got back into doing the, we just went through some ideas. And so I guess that's a long way of saying Voyage 35 is the early days, the psychedelic era of Porcupine Tree, brought back and given a new life.
Wow. So when you guys decided to do this, how did you approach it? Did you change a lot of things? Like what did you do to make it more modern or to put your own spin on it?
Yeah. Well, definitely, we've all grown as players, and we've grown with sounds and ideas. And so going back to those very early tracks, we just took the basics of those tracks and fleshed them out in our own styles. And boy, oh boy, like you said, that was the first real recording we did, was Nostalgia Factory. And it just clicked. We have two Italian guys with us. One of them is the singer keyboard player for ORK, Colin's other band. His name is Lef. Lorenzo Espinato Forsanari, I forget. So we just call him Lef.
Okay, do not try that 5 times fast. No,
you can't. You can't. And Lef is, you know, you hate to use the word genius with anyone, but he is a classically trained musician that arranges for orchestras, string ensembles, movies, does movie soundtracks, and can create entire arrangements.
Wow.
And so, yeah, he's a beast. And then he has an incredible rock singing voice. He's again, a trained classical singer, but took all that skill set and applied it to what he loved, which is the rock genre. And so he's just a dynamite package over there on keyboards. And then we a drummer. The drummer in ORK is Pat Mastelotto. Are you familiar with him from Mr. and King Crimson?
Oh, yeah.
Yes,
that's
the
those bands. Absolutely.
Yeah. So Pat's the drummer for those bands, and he's the drummer for Colin and Left's other band called ORK. And they needed a guy to fill in every now and again. And there was an Italian drummer named Alessandro Vagnoni, who's just a monster. And so we brought in Alessandro because he has that capability, and it clicked like that.
I don't know what they're doing down there in Italy, because I just played when I just sang with Jeff Scott Soto. The entire backing band, besides David Ellefson, was all from Italy. They were all from Italy, and they are phenomenal. They were just killing it.
At a very young age, they have a deep tradition of classical training.
Yeah.
So, you might be a guitar player, but you're going to have to learn how to read when you're 9 years old and play piano.
Yeah.
So the musicianship in Italy is there's a lot of fantastic musicians, and we were lucked out to have 2 of them in our band.
Excellent. So now how's the reaction so far? Because Porcupine Tree has passionate fans.
Yes.
And I remember when I would run into Rush fans, so many of them would say, "Oh, have you heard Porcupine Tree?" That was like the next thing out of the heard Porcupine Tree. So how has this been received so far?
Really well, because Porcupine Tree, again, we didn't know it had ended, but we did our last gig together in 2010 at the Royal Albert Hall, and that reunion didn't happen for 12 more years. So there was a lot of fans that were coming into discovering Porcupine Tree and this music that had been being created since 1991, and they're like, we'll never get to see this live. And there was a lot of fans that were really sad about that. And then the new lineup, they didn't really tour that much. They only did about 45 shows worldwide, and then it was over. And Steve gets out there and he tours a solo thing as much as he can. But again, that's every few years. So when we announced, immediately the reception was like, "Come to my town, come to my town, come to my town, come to my town,"
Nice.
So we're going to see how that plays out. We've got an initial tour in September in Europe. We're trying to put together some US dates. Now, 3 of the guys are European, so the visas are a massive hassle. But then we're playing on the Progressive Rock Cruise next year, the Cruise to the Edge.
Fun.
Yeah, we'll be on that the first week of May next year. So it's already kicking off. It's really, and then we released that single, The Nostalgia Factory, with this crazy psychedelic video.
Yes.
And man, the reception's been great.
Yeah, that is, I love that song. It was really, really cool to watch. So when you get out and play the Voyage 35 stuff, do you do it exactly how you guys record it, or do you guys improvise a lot?
Arrangement wise, it'll be pretty strict to the way we rehearsed it, because the arrangements are so complex. And we're on click tracks, but within that arrangement, there's no rules. It's like room to do whatever you want. Cool. There's certain things you're like, there's certain elements of all these songs, like for me, Steve is a really great guitar player, in that a lot of his parts are very memorable. And so, having known the music for so long, I was a fan of the band before I was in the band. I met them in '95, and the manager of the band I was touring with worked for their publishing company. He gave me a CD, and he goes, "This is that band you guys just played with." And I was like, "Wow, it's amazing." So I was a fan, and that's kind of how I got the gig, is I knew Steve from meeting him in '95, and eventually we reunited. Do you guys remember the band Marillion?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, the original singer Fish. I played guitar for him for about 3 years, and wrote a solo record with him. And Steven had done work with him well, and that's how we were reunited. And he saw me play with Fish, and that's what gave him the idea that I could be his second guitar player when they got signed to Atlantic.
Wow. So did they have any issues with you guys going out and doing this album?
No, it was exactly the opposite. On the day we announced, Steven texted me and said, "Wow, you caught me completely by surprise. I think this is fantastic. I really hope you guys have a good time."
That's awesome.
And I've been friends with Steve for years. Even though we ended up not working together in the reunion, the friendship has been there for honestly 27 or 28 years.
Wow.
So that really hasn't changed. And we still text each other back and forth, always hilarious jokes. And to be fair, before we put out Nostalgia Factory, I sent it to him first. I said, I just want you to hear what we're doing, and this is going to come out soon. And we're about to release another track within the next 2 weeks. And I sent it to him as well. And he's like, man, I love this stuff. I'm so happy with what you guys are doing. He actually has a radio show on Sirius XM, a very, very, very deep track progressive show. And he played Nostalgia Factory last Friday on his show.
Oh, that's
so that
cool.
that was really cool. Yeah.
That's nice to hear. It's nice to hear when people handle things that way.
Yeah.
So when you play live shows, when you play this kind of music live versus like when you're doing Vertical Horizon live, what's the difference? What's the difference in the energy from the audience or for you as a performer?
Well, it's different roles. In Vertical Horizon, I'm a supporting role. I play a supporting role in that, I'm the background singer and the supporting guitarist. I do take some solos. We split the solos. And now I'm doing a lot of the more complex parts so that Matt can be more of a front man.
Yeah.
But with Voice 35, I'm the guitar player, and half the time I'll be singing. And so it's more of a focused position out there. It's a lot more focus and pressure on that role.
Yeah. And how hard is it to be, because it's like you said, this is pretty complex technical musicianship. How hard is it to be playing that kind of music and singing against it?
Tough. Yeah, there's a few songs where I'm like, Lef, you're singing this one. Yeah, I'm just playing this one. Yeah, not my gig, man. Because it was one of the reasons I got hired with Porcupine Tree, because the music just got more complex, and Steve couldn't play it and sing it. Some of the tracks. So it was like, oh, listen, mate, I need you to play that bit.
Yeah.
And I would play that bit,
Yeah.
So
it's good to know your limitations sometimes.
Yes. And to recognize them before your limitations eat you alive in front of 100,000, or not 100,000, but I mean hundreds of people. So
now, how are you guys making the music? Are you guys getting in a room and actually playing together at any points? Or are you guys trading ideas digitally and just sending stuff back and forth?
It's mostly digitally, but I went to Italy in January, and the whole band was in Italy, and we rehearsed together for a week to really solidify it and make sure it was going to work. And like I said, these are great players, and we have a great love for this music. So it clicked immediately. It was very exciting from the first day.
Yeah.
And
Italy's not a bad place to rehearse.
I love hearing that, as someone with this imitation Les Paul over my shoulder here, and to hear you talk about a lifetime creating and being a professional musician. Talk to us about what that's like as a creative person and being able to have this life afforded to you.
Well, for me, I never made the big jump to LA. My wife and I lived in LA for about 3 months, and we came back. But I was raising a daughter from very young. So right about the time my first band ended, and I thought, well, now's my chance to jump to LA. It was 1991 when that band crashed and burned. And I was I had to either go to LA or Seattle. Nirvana was happening. Jane's Addiction was happening. Tampa was not happening. I had just gotten divorced, and my ex-wife we found she was in the throes of bipolar, and we didn't know. And so all the things that we were going through with her, my daughter started spending a lot more time with me, and then eventually I had to take custody of her. Wow. So my parents were here. I had a custody of a 3-year-old, 4-year-old. 5-year-old when I got full custody. And then it was like, I can't go anywhere, you know. This is my world now. I remember going back to USF and applying and getting accepted and standing in line to pay for my classes. And I was 2 people away from the bursars window. And I'd realized that once I'd write that check, that my life would change forever. And I wasn't ready for that yet. So I was like, I don't know how I'm going to do this, but I'm going to be a professional musician from Tampa, Florida. And at that point, right after that, a good friend of mine who was the sound man for the Smithereens, eventually became and is now one of the most revered soundmen in the industry, a guy named Andy Meyer. But back then he was starving like the rest of us. I was starving, man. I was doing solo gigs in pubs on acoustic guitar, trying to pay my bills and raise my daughter. And he came to me and said, "Hey, dude, I got a gig, but I need a guitar tech." And I'm like, "Well, I don't know how to guitar tech." And he goes, "Oh, come on. You've had guitar techs your whole career. Just do what they do." You know. And I'm like, "I don't think I can do this." And he's like, "Well, it's this band called Marillion. They're coming over from the UK. It's 6 weeks. It pays $600 a week." I'm like, I am in. And this was like January of '92. And I just got in a truck with him, drove north. He told everyone I had been a guitar tech with different bands, didn't mention any names. And that day we hit it off. And that night we went into a bar in Montreal or in Quebec, and we all got drunk, and there was a band playing, a rock band. And I'd been drinking, and I said, "Hey man, let me get up and jam." And they let me get up and jam some Zeppelin with them. And then the guys in Marillion were looking up going, "That's our guitar tech up there playing Led Zeppelin right now. What's he doing?" You know? And so over the next couple of days in the back of the bus, they found out that I was really more of an artist than a guitar tech. And I played them a 3-song cassette, and the back lounge just kind of went silent. And the sound man at the time goes, "Hey, do you think if I fucked off all the opening acts, you could just be the opening act as well?"
Oh my gosh.
Wow.
And I said, "I don't have a guitar with me." And the bass player said, "I have one." She goes, "You can use my acoustic." And then the sound man said, "I'll pay you $100. And I was like, single dad, you know, I'm like,
that's $700 a week now.
That's $700. And
Yep.
so I took the gig, and in Syracuse, New York, I set up this very complex stage setup. I went back, I washed my hair, pulled my back hair in a ponytail, put on a clean shirt, grabbed the guitar, walked out on stage, and Mark Kelly introduced me, and he said, "This is my friend John Wesley." No, actually, they were calling me Wes back then. "It's my friend Wes, and if you boo him, I'll come out there and I'll fuck all your girlfriends because you know I can." And
What an intro.
Right? Show. I love it.
And it went down fantastic. And that was it. He started calling, the sound man started calling promoters because he was also the production engineer. And we got rid of all the rest of the support acts for the rest of the US tour. And I did it. And then they hired me again and hired me again. And to this day, I've done about over 400 shows as their support act. I stopped the teching thing early on. That I couldn't. I was killing myself doing both jobs. But you know,
that is the craziest story. I hadn't heard that one.
Yeah, and through that, Fish needed a guitar player. So he reached out to Steve Rothery, the guitar player of Marillion, and Mark Kelly, and they're like, "Well, we know a guy." And so Fish hired me from Tampa, Florida to Scotland. And then when I was working with the Fish, I re-met Steven Wilson. He saw me play with Fish, and that's how I got the Porcupine Tree gig.
Wow. Imagine your life if you had not made that decision.
Nope. And then it was through, and it goes even further. And it was through Porcupine Tree that I met Alex from Rush. And then I met Neil from Rush. And Neil said, Wes, after we became friends and we were riding motorcycles together and all that kind of stuff, he said, Wes, I have this friend. He has a band. They're very good. You should meet him. His name is Matt. And I'm like, I think I know that band. Yeah, that's a good band. And he went to Matt and he said, Matt, I have this friend named Wes. You should meet him. He's in this band called Porcupine Tree. And then Matt came to an LA show in like 07, 08. we met then, and then years later, when he needed a guy, he called me.
That is crazy, and the rest is history.
Every connection was made through, you know.
That's when you know it's meant to happen.
Yeah.
Now, did any of your musical gifts get handed down to your daughter, who was surrounded by that at such a young age?
No.
You don't have an occasional backup singer just ready to go. Okay, got it.
No. My 38-year-old daughter will not sing to save her life, but give her a few margaritas and she'll dance in a hilarious fashion. She's quite entertaining. And but I have a 14-year-old son, and he's playing piano, and he sings, and his pitch, his just natural pitch is better than mine. So I'm hoping to get him off video games and more into music. So
he got the gene.
He got the gene big time.
I know what 14-year-olds are like.
One keyboard to another.
Yeah. If I could just keep him, he's taking piano lessons, and
yeah. So we have to. You brought up Neil, so we have to talk about that a little. You and Neil were very close friends.
Yeah.
You and your wife. And how do you feel about the reunion and this new tour? Because I know that has to be emotional for you.
It is. I choked up when I saw the first video of them playing at the award show. It was just nonstop. I couldn't. It was just such an emotional rush for me. Not meant to rush. Nope. Emotional rush. I wasn't meant. So I'm also friends with Alex. I'm very good friends with Alex, and we chat from time to time. And I knew from a conversation we had a couple of years ago that he was getting the itch, because he asked me, he said, well, you're going out with Matt now and you're playing all these gigs all around the world. Do you still love it? And I'm like, man, I got to admit, I said, it's a different scale than I used to be on, but man, I love this. Sometimes the gigs are amazing. Sometimes they're small, but man, I'm still playing guitar at this age. I absolutely love this. He goes, yeah. He goes, yeah. And I just kind of got that thing. And there was, and so there's the flip side of it. There was a conversation that Neil and I had before R40. We'd gone out to dinner in LA, and we were, God, oh my God, I hate to confess to this, but we were 2.5 bottles of wine in to our dinner, and it was all coming out. And he's like, I know this is my last time. I'm going to do R40, and then I'm going to be done. And I'm really going to be done. I want to raise my daughter. I want a different life. I want to go out on top of my game. And he was like, I can finish this tour at the top of my game, and that's the way I'm going to finish it. So I knew R40, and everyone kind of knew R40 was the end for Neil at that point. And there was no hint of illness. But we knew, and he knew that, it was getting harder and harder for him to do the shows at the level that he wanted to perform at. Now, the rest of us, he could have gone on for 10 more years and we'd have never known the difference, but he would have.
Yeah.
So had that happened and he had not gotten ill, and he would be still with us today, and Geddy and Alex would have gone to him and said, man, because Geddy, he's a beast. He does not want to not play.
Yeah, exactly.
And I know Alex still wanted to play. If they would have gone to Neil, I truly believe this, and I'm speaking out of my own opinion here. This is completely from my own opinion. I truly believe Neil would have said, I think she's wonderful, and I think you should go with her. I think she would be amazing.
Oh, I think so too. So are you going to be at one of the shows?
If I can make, absolutely. They're coming to Tampa. They're doing 2 shows in Tampa.
Oh, nice.
And they're on a weekday, and I'm really hoping to be here for those. So
excellent.
Yep.
So what else? So what else do you have? A lot of stuff going. You don't just have Voyage 35. You have Vertical Horizon. You do some solo stuff.
Yeah.
What are your plans for the next? Where do you see yourself going from here? Will there be more? Will there be more from Voyage 35?
Yes, Voyage 35, if this works in September, will be a long-term project. There's so much material from those early days, and there's so many places in the world that want to see that show that I don't think we could, if we kept it going for the next 5 to 7 to 8 years, we couldn't get everywhere that has reached out to us, if that makes sense,
Wow.
to hear that music. So I think that's a thing. Also, I love the Vertical Horizon gig. Matt and I have just a wonderful chemistry together. You saw it, Kathy,
Yeah,
you know.
yeah.
It's
Great
a
show.
good chemistry. I love the music. He's a master songwriter and a stunning guitar player, and I love working with him. And then I have my own music. I have to say that after Neil died, I stopped.
Yeah.
I stopped riding motorcycles.
Oh.
Oh shit. I'm sorry, man.
No.
I stopped.
No apology
stopped
necessary.
writing.
No, it makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
It's all
I
good.
stopped writing songs, because everything came out really bitter.
Yeah.
Because I was pissed.
Yeah.
He had such a future ahead of him, and we had discussed those plans at that LA dinner. We discussed plans.
Oh.
We'd even worked out logistics. Like, okay, I'm going to pick up a bike in Atlanta. You and Rebecca are going to meet me in the mountains, and we're going to do this because he loves my wife. My wife was, I would say, his favorite female writer. He wrote about her in his books. She chased him down on the twisties, and he just loved that, And so I was pissed, but through the years, her and I have started writing again. I started writing again. I just put on my Patreon my very first recorded song since 2016.
Wow.
I have several others to go. I'm sending one out for bass this week. Colin's going to play some bass on it, and then I'll have another one. So I will have an album out, another solo record out, because I've got 8 records out, and I will have another solo record out by February or March. So that's my plan. So I am nonstop.
Excellent. And I think I want people to check out your past solo work. And I hope you do some new solo work, because you don't consider yourself a singer, but you've got an amazing voice.
Thank you.
Songwriting is fantastic.
Thank you.
I think you should do your solo stuff. And it sounds like you've got a lot going on. What made you feel ready to start doing it again?
You're going to laugh. It was Neil. Beck and I were sitting around drinking one night discussing the motorcycle thing. And we have this saying, it was like, when we would be out on these motorcycle rides, man, he would just pick the craziest. It didn't matter if it was raining, it was cold. He'd pick the craziest off-roads you could find and just go for it, just for the adventure. And so we used to have this thing. His nickname was Bubba. So Beck and I would go, well, WWBD, when we would, what would Bubba do? And that's what got us back on the bikes. We were sitting there going, I think he would not be happy with this. I think he would want us out there doing this again.
Yes.
Because like I said, I sold mine after he died, or when he got sick. Actually, I sold it while he was sick. I was, if he's not riding, I'm not riding, And it was WWBD, and that kind of got me back to the whole thing again. It was like, what would Bubba do? He would say, get out there and write. Do your songs, man. You're not dead yet. And that's just the way he thought. He lived life to the very last minute.
Yes.
And so, I get choked up when I think about it, and that's emotions, but WWBD will push me through that and say, well, what would he do? I know what he'd do. He'd get out there and get it done.
Yeah. And anybody who's read his books knows that about him. And when you read what he went through in his book, Ghostwriter, and how he talked about, you couldn't go through more trauma than he went through.
No.
And he got back on the bike, and he got back out into, they gave him all the time he needed in Rush, and then he came back to the music. So,
yep. And I use that analogy when people ask me about the new Rush. I'm like, they got back on the bike, man.
Exactly. Right.
They got back on the bike.
Yeah. And I think Neil would want them to do that.
He absolutely would. And he would love her. Seeing her play that show and using her own style and just crushing it.
Yeah.
It was so liberating for me to see them happy and enjoying that, and the smile on Alex and Getty's face, you know, that's the magic right there. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
That's what I was hesitant, but it was that award show. I'm like, okay, they're going to be here for 2 dates in Phoenix at the end of the year. I'll be at least one of the shows. No ifs, ands, buts.
Yeah. And it's about the joy.
Yeah, it is about the joy. But what do you think of the addition of the keyboardist? I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, I think it's great. Because Getty wants to play more bass.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Yay.
You know? Yeah. Getty wants to play bass, man. And it's like, you know, I'm doing all these things. I'm already singing. I'm already playing bass. I just want to play bass. You know, Rush had to be a 3-piece.
Yeah.
When Neil was there. Now Rush can be what they want it to be. And I understand it because I just want to play guitar.
You know? No singing, just guitar.
No singing, you know. People make me sing because they're like, well, you know, I'm like, okay, I'll do it, you know.
Yeah.
And but I just want to play guitar.
I want to circle back before we get to Make Up Your Mind, dude. I want to circle back to how we started with the younger generation, and especially the ones who are listening to vinyl, who do understand and appreciate the experience of music. What's the crowd been like for you at the shows with Voyage 35?
We haven't done the live shows with Voyage 35 yet.
Okay.
That starts in September. We've just rehearsed.
Okay.
But we're seeing a lot of like with the Vertical Horizon thing, parents are bringing their teenagers to shows, and you know, they're not as familiar with this music because this is music that happened in the, you know, the early 2000s, and they hear these songs and they're like, man, that doesn't sound like anything I heard on TikTok. That's really good. You know. And then my son did something kind of amazing the other day. He goes on Spotify and he picks songs, right?
Yeah.
And he got stuck in a Nirvana album, and he listened to the first Nirvana record from start to finish.
Oh boy.
And he made it a point to come to us and kind of explain, he's only 14, how he'd never listened to a whole record start to finish before, and how it kind of blew his mind. And I was like, well, let's do that again, you know? So he's going to listen to Rumors, you know, because he loves a couple of Fleetwood Mac songs.
Good one.
So I'm like, once you listen to Rumors, you know, it's like, so we're going to do this. We're going to start listening to albums start to finish.
See, and he doesn't know. This before, it needs to be said again and again. It's good parenting.
Yeah, right.
The younger generation appreciating music.
Yeah, it's, you know, there's an experience that we were fortunate to have where you sat in your room, your moody self, your moody teenage self, and you took that journey, man. You know, you listened to that wall, and you put yourself. There's a concept in writing and in storytelling. I worked with a storytelling coach for several years as a side gig. He was an ex-Green Beret. And storytelling is big in the Green Beret world because you're put into these situations where it's by, with, and through the locals. So you have to tell a damn good story to get the locals to turn to your side, or else you're just dead, you know? And so the guy I was working for had dissected the art of storytelling, and that was part of his gig. And there's a thing called narrative transportation. And narrative transportation is when the story's so good that you place yourself into the story and you become the character in the story, and you read that book or you listen to that album. And I think we used to do that as kids when we had that album experience. We didn't know what it was called, but it was a scientific, researched term, and it's narrative transportation. And, you know, we got that chance. And I would wish that upon the TikTok generation, because they don't know what they're missing by taking those journeys and putting themselves into that album or that song and taking that journey.
Yes, they don't know the journey because everything is so instant and so quick.
Yeah.
You get 15 seconds.
Yeah. And so what we're hoping is through this modern aesthetic that we're going to bring to Voyage 35. And like, you know, we did the first video was this trippy AI video that the guy that did it spent weeks on. that we're hoping that maybe some kids out there will go, I never seen anything like that. I never heard anything like this, and take that journey with us.
And what do you feel about the AI? That's a question I always ask artists because everybody has a different feeling about it. What do you feel about using AI in music and video as a musician?
I don't mind it in video because I know that the guy that did this video for us, he is an artist and he used AI to create something that, well, you saw it, Kathy. It's
pretty cool.
Out there.
Yeah.
It is way out there.
Well done. It's well done.
And it tells a story. And if you're an old time Porcupine Tree fan, there's so many Easter eggs in it that so many references to other records visually. So I don't mind it from that perspective. Now, in the songwriting thing, I think, like if you go to Nashville right now, it's kind of crushing the lower tier studio musicians, the guys that were making demos for the lower tier songwriters. And a lot of the demo work's drying up because all you have to do is feed a half-assed set of lyrics into an AI and it finishes the lyrics for you and provides you 2, 3, 5 versions of the song. And those songwriting demos are going out and that is being sold, and that's happening everywhere. It's happening in the hip hop world. It's happening in the pop world. It's happening in the the country world. And so, there's that side of me that wants to embrace moving forward in technology.
Right.
But there is also that side of me that's like, let's not replace the artistry. The storytelling aspect of it, let's not let AI tell our stories for us.
Right.
And I'm doing my best right now, not to make a knock on, maybe AI could help make pop country a little bit better. Anyhow, but I won't dive down that one. I'm an outlaw. I'm a Johnny and Willie.
I don't even think
guy,
AI.
so.
No, never mind. I didn't say that.
We'll edit that out.
That did not come from me.
We're not editing shit out, Jim. You know what we say what we mean.
We tell the truth on this show.
That's right.
I am not a big super pop country fan, but I mean, a great song is a great song, and if it's a great song, I'll like it.
Chris Stapleton is the gold standard right now for country.
My God,
as a writer and a musician. The rest of them,
absolutely
whatever.
Yeah.
Chris, I don't know if you guys saw there. I just watched the American Idol, the finale. I don't watch American Idol, but I happened to turn on the TV and I watched the finale, and they had a bunch of different, celebrity musicians come on and perform. And Luke Bryan performed with this young kid, and I think his name was Julian, and I can't remember his last name. I need to Google it. This kid had it. I mean, from the second he stepped on the stage, he played guitar, he had the voice, he was country, but he was mesmerizing. And I thought, wow, I'm not a huge fan of the new country that much either, but I watched this kid and I'm like, that kid is going to be a star. Like I would buy his album now, whatever.
The younger generation has opportunities that we didn't have,
They do.
Parents do better now than they did when we were growing up. My family we were never poor, but we struggled. And I took a job. I started working. I was mowing lawns at 12, So I didn't ever have that time to just sit home and practice every minute of every day. But now, a lot of kids aren't getting jobs young. Their parents don't want them to have a job all the way through college.
Yeah.
And so they can become these phenomenal musicians. I used to teach songwriting every 2 summers in a row. I went out to MI, Musicians Institute, and taught songwriting. And some of the guitar players that were like 18, 19, 20 years old would come in and they were monsters and they'd never done a gig. And I'm like, oh my God, you've never done a show? Well, I've done some shows here at MI. No, I'm like, no. You've never done a show. And they're like, no. And I'm like, well, how'd you get that good? And he goes, well, I just sat in my bedroom every night after school and practiced. And I was like, wow. So
I'm just glad they were practicing on a real guitar or whatever, and not just Guitar Hero.
Well, they also have access to so much information.
So much.
Go on YouTube and they can see somebody show them exactly how to play a certain song or a certain part, and they can figure it out. They don't have to sit in front of a record player. Move the needle back.
And Van Halen with Eric Clapton and Jimi Hendrix back and forth with the needle. Exactly.
I did it. I and it was terrible at it. So, I stopped doing it until I had to get into a cover band. I was just, and then I was like, oh crap, I have to learn these songs in the cassette. I'd wear the cassettes out. But, they have opportunities that we didn't have. And so there's this real ability to get amazing quickly. And yet I don't think that many, not as many as should, are taking advantage of it.
I have one last question for you.
Sure.
I've never asked you this because you are such a musician's musician. I mean, you're a true artist. You're really a musician. What do you feel about this huge market now for tribute bands? And every, AC/DC, Iron Maiden, they all have, there's 15 different tributes to each of these acts who are still touring themselves, by the way. But what do you feel about that? Do you think it's good for music to have all these tribute bands getting all these gigs?
Yeah. So it's a double-edged sword. I remember in 2009, we were playing in, I want to say it was Helsinki, and staying in the same hotel with us was the Brit Floyd.
Yeah.
And we met those guys, and they're really cool. We were nice. We were hanging out. And so we're like, we're playing this venue down the street. It's I think we sold 1,500 tickets, and they're like, oh yeah, we're down the street, and they sold 8,000. And I was like, oh my God. 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 So from that perspective, it was crushing, right? But from the other perspective it goes back to this thing that Geddy and Alex just showed the world. We are musicians first and foremost. So we want to play. So they did whatever they had to play. And that's a lesson to all of us.
Yeah.
I in between, when I was single dadding it, in between touring gigs, man, I was a cover guy, man. I would grab my acoustic guitar and go sit in that bar 5 nights a week, 6 nights a week, 4 hours a night and play. And I think the resurgence of tribute acts does a double thing. It brings there's a lot of people that want to experience that live. Like they never got to see Fleetwood Mac. They never got to see the real Pink Floyd, and they never will.
Right.
And so Brit Floyd rolls into town, or whatever Floyd rolls into town, and they've got the light show and they've got the thing. And yeah, it isn't the guy, but it's really good. And so the audience gets to experience it, and then the players get to play.
Yeah.
And so they're not playing their own music, whatever. They get to play and they get to earn. And some of them are making a living at this. And so God bless them, God bless them.
There's some really amazing musicians who do it too.
Mind-blowingly good musicians.
Some of the
So anything for me that allows you to live as a musician, like my YouTube channel is called The Journeyman Guitarist, because I consider myself a journeyman. That means I will play. I want to play. I don't want to sit in my studio here and just send out recordings. I want to be out there in the world. I want to play.
Yeah.
I am a journeyman, and that's what these guys are. They're true journeymen.
Yeah.
And I do want to, on that note, I want to, for our listeners who are listening and not watching on YouTube, make sure you're checking out John Wesley at all. He's on Spotify, he's on Apple Music, Pandora, and also he mentioned it's at the Journeyman.
At the Journeyman Guitarist.
The Journeyman Guitarist. That's at YouTube, and also at his Patreon page.
Yep.
And Facebook is John Wesley Official, and Instagram and X it is John Wesley Music. So you got all those different ways you can listen and watch. And I love your YouTube channel where you are just basically
thank you.
You're giving people like that. Here it all is. This is how to be a musician, and from point A to point Z, and all dots in between.
Yeah. And as many tips as, I wish I had someone sharing those with me, and I'd have done a lot less dumb things when I was a kid.
No, but it's the dumb things that help us.
Yeah. They
find the smarter things.
Yes. Don't do that again.
They give you a lot of stories to tell too.
Yeah. It's like, don't sell that amp. That was a good one.
I was going to say, I really appreciate that YouTube channel you have, because it isn't just a showcase for your music, although it is, but it's got personal content. It's got practical advice. Yeah. You don't see that from a lot of musicians going beyond just showcasing the music, but actually trying to make a connection with their viewers and give them some good advice to other musicians. So yeah, it's a really interesting channel, and I appreciate that you're doing it that way.
Thank you so much. That is the goal. So.
Nice. Well, folks, and now has come the time where we are going to be asking John Wesley to
make up your mind, dude.
Right out of the gate. We're going to be going with Steve Hackett or Steve Howe.
Oh gosh, Steve Howe.
Ace Frehley or Angus Young.
Ooh.
Oh, that's hard because Ace was my first guy. I even have three. I have 3 Cherry Sunburst Les Pauls because of Ace Frehley.
We have our winner, and there we go. Dream Theater or Tool?
Tool.
Oh, really?
Tool. I'm all about Tool. I love Tool.
That surprises me on that one.
Yeah, 10,000 Days, I think, is a masterpiece record. A masterpiece.
All right, LP or 8-track?
I love them both, but I'm going to go LP.
Dogs or cats?
Dogs.
Which leads us into toilet paper, over or under?
Over. Come here.
And if you're a cat owner, you know it has to be under. So, yes, there you go.
Come here. Come up here, dog.
Oh, yes.
We're going to see
the dog.
Oh,
my goodness.
Baby.
Yes.
The baby.
There's little Sriracha.
Hello. Oh, that's I love that. I'm a dog person. Love it. Okay, so
She's with me
kind of
everywhere.
already answered the question on this one, but live or in studio?
Live.
Yeah. And there's been some re-recordings of some things, so this one might be a little bit tougher than you think. But acoustic or electric?
Ooh.
For me, electric. I've made a huge living on acoustic guitar. I put my daughter through college with an acoustic guitar.
Now you're taking it a little bit easier on the fingers, some lighter gauge strings. There you go. I like it.
Yeah. But I'm an electric guy all the way.
And that's the end technically of the Make Up Your Mind do. But right now, I just want to what was your first concert and what has been your latest concert?
My first concert was Kiss.
And which tour was that? Would that be the Destroyer tour?
I saw the Destroyer tour.
Nice.
Wow.
Tell me that wasn't magic.
Oh
my God. Uriah Heep opened up and I'd never heard
Whoa.
them. And they had the big B3 and just all the stuff. And I was like, what is this? And then Kiss came out. So yeah, Kiss. And then my last concert would have been on the boat, and it would have been Marillion, watching Marillion on the Cruise to the Edge. And, I'm so connected to that music because I did so many shows with them. And then I played the Marillion stuff with Fish for so many years. So yeah, it was a moving experience.
And being a pop guy, I only knew Kaylee for the longest time. And which is still, to this day, one of my favorite singles ever. Mm-hmm. But then to get into them as I've gotten older and appreciating prog more, and just their whole catalog, and for you to play that, that's awesome.
It was
I'm in awe.
So much fun to play.
Very cool.
Well, I'm also enjoying listening. I'm glad Kathy has put you into my sphere of listening now too. So, folks,
awesome.
Make sure John Wesley, make sure you're checking him out. Like I said, on Spotify, Apple Music. Go to his YouTube channel and the Journeyman Guitarist, and not just the music there. Just learn what it's like to be a lifetime musician.
Yeah, and on the front page of that channel, I put a lot of live videos from the different bands that I've toured with through the years, so that you can see. It's like I'm not only going to talk about it, but if you scroll down a little bit, watch a video, and you'll see exactly what I'm talking about in action. And this is how it goes, Yeah. So there's some Porcupine Tree videos. There's videos with Vertical. There's Simon Collins, because I played with Phil Collins on Simon. Big Elf, the Big Elf with Mike Portnoy playing drums. So, a lot of different things.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm a melomaniac, so I just barely scratched the surface on this stuff. So I'm loving it so far. So thank you, Kathy, for introducing me to John.
Thank you.
He's
Thank
the
you guys
best.
for having me. This has been amazing. I love being able to talk music with people that love music.
Well, then once you're off with the Voyage 35, I want to come back, have you come back next
Yes.
year when your album's out at the beginning of the year, and just
Yeah.
get an update with you.
Yes.
Would love to have you back.
That would be amazing. And I love the way that you mentioned the younger generation, because one of the missions of Voyage 35 is to do some festivals where younger kids are going to see us, the younger generation are going to see us, and get them into this thing. Get them into long form. Get them into more depth. And so that's kind of one of the missions of Voyage 35.
And I'm looking forward to hear more of the full albums that your son is going to be listening to as well.
Absolutely. I think Rumors is next.
Yay, I love that album.
Dig it.
Awesome.
Dig it. Well,
Right
again,
on.
folks, make sure you're checking out John Wesley and all the audio platforms and on YouTube and his Patreon page. And we'll be back real soon here on all over the place. Till then, take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All over the place, where the fun sanity never ends.